Welcome to the GSD with Jeni podcast, where we talk about how to overcome all the stuff that gets in the way of getting shit done. Imposter syndrome, fear, money, relationships, networking, building businesses. We're going to talk to experts, or as I say, mavens, that provide practical and tactical advice on how to GSD. I'm your host, Jeni Buchholz, founder and CEO of Haven Creative. Now, I started my business with $300 in a laptop and grew it to a team of Haven mavens serving clients around the world and generating over 7 figures in revenue. We were named one of the fastest growing companies in Charlotte and 2024 Crowns of Enterprise Woman-Owned Business of the Year, and I'm incredibly proud of the success we've had and to be among the 1% of woman-owned advertising agencies in the country. But I still need help too. So I started this podcast with the intent to dive deeper into the things that hold us back from achieving our goals. So thank you for joining me on this journey to GSD. Let's get started. Baily Soto is an industry-recognized leader in EV education and training, known for designing high-voltage safety certifications, launching CTE programs across the globe, and helping mechanics and students navigate the shift toward an electrified future. With deep roots in automotive culture, she's bridging the gap between hands-on tradition and high-tech innovation, and doing it in a way that is deeply human. As the founder of High Voltage Hustle, Baily is known for breaking down barriers for women in the garage, ensuring access and equity is part of every conversation. In this episode, we'll explore her journey from educator to EV advocate and how she's reshaping technical training while staying grounded in her craft. Let's get started. Welcome, Baily, to the show.
Hi, Jeni. Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely. Let's dive right in. I want to know how you became an EV leader in the space.
Oh, man. Well, first off, on paper, I am a curriculum specialist from Legacy EV. So I have been working in the EV industry the last 3 years, building technical training for automotive technicians in schools. But kind of off paper is that I was born and raised in Motor City. My whole family works for the big three, kind of grew up barefoot in a garage, bleeding brakes with my brothers. So it was something that was kind of, the car culture is always in you. So I found myself back into automotive. Just had to get the blessing from my family that I could work on electric vehicles.
Wait, why is that a big deal to them? Help me.
They just love the smell of gas.
Yeah.
So, and the noise when you go through a tunnel, exhaust makes, but I'm just trying to get them to fall in love with EV performance and the hum of an electric motor.
Okay, that's really funny. So before we go into more details on your backstory, let's talk about the EV world, because I do think it's important. What is the biggest maybe misnomer that you'd like to squash about EV?
Oh, that electric vehicles are ugly. I think that I think I agree. Like the ones that are manufactured are certainly ugly, but there is a aftermarket EV swap community that is alive and well for electric vehicles, and to make an old classic vehicle electric, like that has true style. And that is a big misconception that the only EVs out there are like the new ugly ones that are coming off the line.
Well, that would be pretty cool to do sort of a retro mod then. So you could take an older vehicle and make it EV. All right. Maybe I can get on board with that.
Yeah.
So the family supports it now? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Yeah. No problem. The hardest person to convince was my eldest brother, because he works in kind of the rental car industry. And so he was seeing all these problems in the winter with EV sitting. And so he was a non-believer, but I just had to take him for a ride in an electric vehicle so he could feel the G's, and then he was like, okay, EV performance is pretty cool. Like I can get down with this.
So education and training brought you into the world you're in now with EVs. Talk to me about that.
Yeah, absolutely. When I was deciding what to do with my life in Detroit, after high school, it was I'm dating myself, the financial crisis. Detroit was bankrupt. The big three was laying a lot of people off. Like there's a lot of hardship in my community. So I actually kind of decided not to go into the automotive industry and went to college and got my master's degree in education. And so I actually spent 10 years in the classroom in K-12 public schools as a CTE teacher. And along that journey, like ran into someone who was building, the president of Legacy EV, and he was just like, "Oh, we need teachers to design curriculum for automotive technicians so that they don't get laid off because they don't know how to work on these vehicles." So I really saw that as a need, thinking about my own community and my own family in Detroit. And I was like, yeah, like I need to step away from the classroom and start building things that will help teachers build a new workforce, that will help the current workforce feel like they can upskill and continue to service now, diesel, gas, and electric.
Was there ever any fear around leaving what was probably a stable job and just completely making a pivot into a new career?
Yeah, here in Arizona, teachers still get pensions. So it was definitely, a big jump to walk away from a very stable income from retirement and join like a startup. When I started there, like I was one of the oldest people on the team. They were making fun of me that I was raising the insurance premiums because I was so old. Uh, and so it was a really big, like risky decision, but ultimately I really saw the need that I would go from helping the students to actually helping the teachers help more students. So I felt like it was a worthwhile jump.
It's interesting. It sounds like it aligned with your purpose, which is really what helping people, right? They see their potential in some ways, or how would you define your purpose?
Yeah, well, I absolutely love learning, and being kind of the youngest of six and the only one of us that actually liked like traditional school. Like I saw that my siblings really learned with their hands. They were kinesthetic learners. They just wanted to learn by doing. And I realized that that wasn't just my family. Like a lot of people learn that way. And especially now with us having screens and online learning, it's like leaving more and more of those types of learners behind. So I wanted to use my skills as an educator to figure out like how do we make sure that those people are successful, like that, how do I get them to fall in love with learning, getting them to play with new things is learning. So that's kind of my lifelong journey of just trying to help other people realize their value and potential, like through different learning styles.
I would say that that's really important, whether you're making a career shift or just starting out, is to align the organization you're with your purpose.
Yeah. And I think that, like, being a teacher, I learned so much from my students. But coming and working with adults now, like, it's the same. In fact, sometimes adults are even more embarrassed when they don't know things in the
Really?
classroom because they feel like they should know them. And
Mm.
so trying to not only create like a comfortable learning environment of trust, but also just allowing people to fail and be like, it's okay that you don't know anything. It's okay to ask questions, because I think we just live in a society where we're supposed to just know the answer because we can look it up.
Yeah, that's true. It's funny because I do think kids are they have no filter. Like they'll just say whatever's on their mind. And like you maybe towards middle school and high school, they're more afraid, right, of their peers and whatever's going on around them. But what I find I love, like the elementary school age, like, they'll just tell you straight up. I mean, they're full of radical candor. And I think we could do with more of that in the professional workforce.
Yeah. And that's actually what I love about being in the car industry is I don't have much of a filter. And so I'm happy that in the car industry it's a lot more of that kind of vibe. We don't have to worry too much about those sorts of things because, half of culture is like offending someone in a lot of ways, it feels like.
It's funny. Yeah, I'm glad you said that too. I've often been told that I'm unfiltered, which maybe can be seen as crass sometimes, but really unfiltered, like I'll just tell you what I'm feeling because I don't want to be fake. I want to have real conversations. And that's what I love about our industry is the connections that we make because of the real conversation. So
I mean, your podcast is called Get Shit Done. So I think there's already that
yes,
level of crassness that, is
right.
great.
Yep. So Let's back up to the industry again. So, you shifted careers over to this
Mhm.
new industry. What would be one of the biggest challenges you faced in building your career?
Yeah, I mean, when I joined the company, I was definitely the first woman on the team. Going to SEMA that first year and just being in like kind of the culture of a male dominated industry. Like the only women that were at this enormous like global conference were the women who were making the cars look good. And so I think like for me, I remember we were even like talking about like what to wear to these professional conferences. And I was like, guys, I can't wear a t-shirt. Like I need to just like look like a boss, like because I'm the only woman in the room. And so that at first I had that imposter syndrome, right? That I'm the only woman in the room. I have to kind of have like a chip on my shoulder for something to prove. But I also have been pleasantly surprised with the electric vehicle community. I feel like I had this chip, but they have just like been totally kind. Like, of course, there's moments in the car industry where, I have to stick up for myself, but for the most part, I've been pleasantly surprised so far.
That's good to hear. It's funny how many times the words imposter syndrome have come up on this podcast. I mean, I think I also talk about it in my intro, but it's
Yeah.
It's funny to me that most of the time when people say they initially have it, it's because they're transitioning into a new career or new path and they're just a little bit uncertain and unsure about what they're doing. And then as soon as they get a little bit of that experience and that confidence under them, it tends to dissipate. So it sounds like that was the way it was for you. Would you say?
Yeah, I mean, like just to give a little context to people, like SEMA takes place in Las Vegas every year, SEMA show, and it's like the largest global like aftermarket conference in the automotive industry. And the last 3 years, I've been doing like SEMA education seminars around electric vehicles, high voltage safety at this conference. And like the first year that I was there, I was just praying that no one would ask a question in my presentation because I just was like, oh, what if I don't know the answer and I look foolish in front of everyone? Just like hoping that these car guys don't try to challenge my understanding. Like, thankfully, like I sounded like I knew what I was talking about with electric vehicles. But, that first year, there was a lot of that fear. But I would say my mantra has been practice makes permanent. And the more vehicles that I work on, the more wiring and programming that I do, the more powertrains I work on, like I realize that I can answer any of those questions I might have been intimidated by a few years ago.
So what you're saying is you've become a badass in it now.
Yes, yes. I'll say that with
Wait, so
confidence.
did anyone ask a question that first year when you were terrified?
Yeah, like there were some about like at the time I didn't really know and I still am learning about things like fabrication and welding. And so like asking questions about like the structural analysis of welds on battery boxes is not my forte, so like if they're asking those sorts of things, I'm just like, oh yeah, well you would certainly use like the normal software for stuff like that, like trying to give like a PC answer without acknowledging that I wasn't really quite sure. Let's go ask the SMEs.
This is actually really helpful because there's been so many times people on my team were in front of a client, they ask a question we don't have the answer to. And I always encourage them to say, to be honest, if they don't have
Yes.
the actual answer, they'll find it. How do you answer the difficult questions when you're put on the spot?
No, and I think that I'm glad you mentioned like acknowledging that we don't know. In all of our trainings, we have a parking lot and the parking lot, and we put post-its out so that people can write their things on them because the parking lot are like questions that go deeper that I may have to do research before I can give you an educated answer. And I think being on the bleeding edge of the electric vehicle industry, like OSHA doesn't even have workplace safety guidelines for electric vehicle workplaces. Like it's so early. So I want to acknowledge like that the questions are good and I'll do my best to like research and give you an answer based on the state of the industry.
I love this idea so much because there have been a lot of times I've been in front of people too in a seminar or a speaking engagement, and I might not have the answer, but I don't want to lose the content. So having a visual, is it a visual parking lot that you
Yeah.
put up?
Yeah. And I put like physical post-its. Like I've done the digital stuff, but some people aren't tech savvy, especially automotive technicians. So if they can just handwrite it on a post-it and like, and then other people can see that question. And then on my breaks, or sometimes if it's in depth, like I might even have to take a day and then come back with a better answer, you know. But yeah, just trying to encourage just wonderings, you know.
Very cool. So let's talk about before you get onto a stage and you're having to talk to a large group of people. Is there anything you do for yourself to hype yourself up or get you in the right mindset? Anything that preps you for that?
Yeah, okay, that's a really good question. I mean, of course, I always just like freak out and have too much coffee.
If I have too much coffee, I'm super hyper and I talk way too fast.
Yeah, same. And so, but the plus side of that is if you're like shaky from nervousness, you can blame the coffee. But I've learned to also just like eat a banana, which will counteract the amount of caffeine that I had.
Oh, that's good
So
to know.
that's kind of a ritual. And then definitely like a hype up song. Like I think back to, you know, the days in high school when you'd have like a sporting event or something, and you'd put on like your favorite hype music. That still resonates of just like kind of a pump up song or something of just like, no, I got this.
Okay, well, yeah, that's what I usually ask people on this show. So, like, what is your get shit done song? What's your hype
Oh,
song?
I would say I have to. Depends on the mood because sometimes I'm alt hip hop, sometimes I'm alt rock. So I would say I love the song Wake Up by Arcade Fire because it has this like steady build of motivation. So that's like the pump up. But if it's like I need to like do some analytical stuff, then I would say right now it's probably like Tough as Nails by Mind Chatter, which is just like upbeat, Ibiza hype kind of music.
Nice. Yeah, so we all need that, and you're right. I think music definitely has the ability to change a mood and get you in the right headspace. And I do a lot of breath work as well to calm myself down, get
Nice.
focused. And I love mantras. So going back to what you said earlier, and if you're maybe in the suck of a moment, or you're really stuck, or you're feeling like you failed at something, what mantras or things you tell yourself to pull yourself out of that space?
Oh, that's a great question. Because I have been working on like just my social media presence and like really trying to come up with something that like resonates across all the things I do. I think the one I said earlier of practice makes permanent
I
is
like
really
that too.
valuable for me. That like no, it does take hard work. And then like when I think about my purpose and vision and like what gets me up in the morning, it's just drive change. That like in any aspect, like and what we're doing in the electric vehicle industry is driving change. Because those vehicles like gas, diesel, and electric are going to be on the road for probably our whole lifetime, and we need to help that. But you know, you can't force people to fall in love with these cars. Like it has to be a cultural shift. And so working on just driving that change through fun, enthusiasm, and just technical knowledge.
I also, of course, love the play on the words you did there. Drive, automotive, change. Love it.
Mhm.
One thing I've learned about trying to change, because branding is exactly that too, is it's creating change in organizations. But the only way that we're ever successful is if they have a desire to change and the willingness to do what it takes. So I imagine people that are walking to the classroom must have a desire to learn already. Are they willing to do what it takes?
Yeah. Oh, and that I think in the last couple of years, I really have started to see a cultural shift. You know, when the government mandates were first announced and we're getting tons of like terrible electric vehicle press, you know, that was like opinion was at an all-time low, and people were like they would call and be like, I love the smell of gas, and like would just like hate on everything that we were doing. um but now like some of the most rewarding moments are when you have like an automotive instructor who's been teaching gas and combustion and engines for 20 years. And now instead of saying, "Oh, I'm going to retire, like I'm never going to learn this tech." Now we have guys that are like, "Yes, I still do love the smell of gas, but I know that this is the right thing to do for my students." And like that kind of growth mindset of just they don't have to love EVs, but they should always be continuing to learn and improve like for their students, I think is like the ultimate like teacher mantra that, makes me really proud when I see those moments in my trainings.
Absolutely. The fact that they're willing to try on a new idea and share it with their students is
Hmm.
incredibly important and helpful to, like you said, training that next generation. What key characteristics do you think that someone coming into the EV classroom need to have?
I think that electric vehicle like press has created like fear around electricity, and it is scary. It's an invisible danger. But with a little bit of know-how and understanding like how to use a multimeter to keep yourself safe, like none of that is like, yes, be aware and like be safe, get a little bit of training. But I think that that is something that we need to just demystify a little bit, that like so many people come and think that they just don't understand their value, that like they already know how to troubleshoot before you could Google it. And like electricity, you can't Google and solve the problem. And so the troubleshooting that these people were doing on fuel injection, last millennium, still applies today. Like those skills, that troubleshooting mindset is an awesome skill. And so for those of us who are older and are like and upskilling for electric, I would say remember that you've already got that mindset. And for like younger people who are just getting into the industry, who have relied on being able to Google everything their whole lives, like go get those brain teaser apps, like go do puzzles, like do things that get you to think critically, because that will be like invaluable as you try to troubleshoot like a short or some sort of programming problem or can sniffing problem in a more complex electrical system.
You also just identified parenting advice for people because I have a 15-year-old, 11-year-old that do not know how to critically think and they just want to Google everything. Or they actually now they just ask Alexa about whatever in their homework and their answers. And I'm like, it's taking away the ability to critically solve a problem.
Mhm. And use of AI every day, right? Like, but it can't solve the problem for you, but it can help you. And so that's where it's like using those tools to help you build the skill is still necessary. Like AI cannot build an electric swapped classic car, like that still
Yeah.
has to be your skill.
I'm glad you touched on AI too, because that's what I was going to go to next is like we are in this age of obviously, I think AI is one of the biggest innovations for our time, right? But
Mhm.
the more I use it, the more I feel like I'm not working on my creative muscle. I'm a little bit afraid that I'm going to get weak and lazy in some ways.
I feel that. I actually have made it a point to not put it on my cell phone.
Ah,
And just have it on my PC at home, so that it's really more of a work use focus, rather than a personal life focus. Because building the 79 truck I've been working on swapping, it's like I do need to like make sure I have the correct size bearing, and like it's really helpful for stuff like that, but like I don't need it in my pocket when I'm having a conversation with my friends.
I've
Yeah.
heard a lot of people say, in the marketing and branding world, like AI is going to take over. AI is going to be in the creative agencies, and I don't subscribe to that. I think that we still need human brains, human beings to create the strategy, and then AI is used for more of the doing side. What have you seen and how it's being used in your industry?
Yeah. Oh, good question. I would say, like, where, because right now in the electric vehicle industry, not a lot of like published content yet. Like, OEMs who are building electric vehicles are kind of holding their information pretty close to the chest. Organizations like I mentioned, OSHA earlier, like are more bureaucratic and take longer for things to get published and come out. So there's not a lot for people who are actively working on these cars, especially like in service and repair, and then in more like aftermarket, very much the Wild West. And so I think AI is good at helping you source parts. I think it's helpful for understanding like what at the very base, like what are other companies doing to like keep their employees safe? Because that stuff's not published yet, and AI can do a good job of being like, hey, here are kind of the base things that you need to know in order to have like a safe high voltage work environment, for example.
It's a really great segue to my next question. Let's talk about high voltage hustle.
Yeah, thank you. Oh man, backstory is I was at SEMA show 2024, and again, just saw like so many guys in the industry like building these awesome cars, and kind of realizing that even though I work in the EV industry, I was still filling a traditional like female role as teacher or instructor or trainer. And that, again, going back to imposter syndrome, I was like, no, like, if I'm really here for the long haul and like this is, and I want to be a pioneer in this industry, like, I need to go out and like build cars from start to finish. And I felt like in my work, I was being put on projects. I was helping with wiring, helping with programming, but I was never like just doing a full build myself. So I decided to, sell my beautiful Wrangler TJ, to buy a classic mini truck. And above all, I really wanted to make sure that it was on social media so that I could show like other women and other people who felt not represented in the automotive community that like, no, like get out there and do this. Like, this is really fun.
Well, a lot of people have ideas all day long, but they don't actually do it. What do you think are the characteristics that make you a get shit done type where you jumped and you did it and you started it?
Yeah, I mean, I think the motivation of just continuous learning for me, like I feel like I'm a pretty great teacher. And that is a skill that I've developed. I've got formal education around, I've developed trainings, but I have never been a really exceptional builder. And so for me, the opportunity to continue to grow and learn and just elevate myself like in the industry in that way felt like absolutely I need to go get it. But it was also just thinking back to when I was a high school teacher and thinking of my students and how right now, especially, like you might not feel like there's an opportunity out there or there's not a lot of like pathways to that make you happy, but also like are successful. And so I had been off social media for almost a decade and I was like, you know what? I need to come back. Like I'm thinking of the Yvettes of my classroom and the Sandras. And I'm just like, nope, I've got to do it for those ladies.
So if someone's listening to this and they're doubting whether they belong in the room or the garage, I guess, what would you tell them?
I would say you don't have to fit in to lead. I just think like that you got to just be brave and get out there and do it, and like if anything like standing out is what is going to elevate you. And life's too short to try and fit in, and people, all you need is that first follower, that first person that believes in you. Doesn't mean that you have to conform.
I feel like we should repeat that for the people in the back. Being brave, being weird. Say it one more time what you said
Yes,
at first.
you do not have to fit in to lead.
I love it. I tell my kids all the time, I'm like, look, the weirdos are the best because you're the ones breaking out, figuring things out, doing things differently. Anyone could be a follower. That's boring. You're
Yeah.
not innovating. You're not starting new ideas.
So true. And honestly, I was just on the phone with like some organizations like working with the Department of Energy and some major OEMs in the automotive space. And like they were talking about how engineers are like completely bored of combustion. They're like they've mastered efficiency in like the 98th percentile with these engines. Like innovation is in electric motors and magnets, like whether it's space travel, private investment like racing, public investment like high speed rail, like everything is an electric vehicle. And like that there's so much happening there. And so I think that like kind of pushing that boundary and leaving the status quo of a safe, comfortable like understanding of engines is gonna like really boost your opportunity in the automotive industry.
And if you're not in automotive, you just said such a key takeaway. Pushing yourself out of the comfort zone is how you learn, how you change, how you grow. Nothing grows in the comfort zone. Like you
Mhm.
just gotta get out there and try some. I also like the term FAFO, right? You gotta F around and find out a little bit.
Absolutely.
Sure.
And my favorite is also RTFM, like read the effing manual. And the like you can do research and then like have that knowledge base because you spent the time like doing a little bit of homework before you
RTFM.
can. Yeah,
Okay,
RTFM.
I'm gonna say that again. RTFM, read the effing manual, is hilarious because I can't tell you how many times we've designed manuals, installed manuals for some of our clients, and we try to make them simple language, video links, things to click on, and the jobbers and the installers still will get frustrated and call in and can't figure something out. And in all fairness, I mean, I don't like following directions either. Like, I can't build a piece of IKEA furniture to save my life because I hate looking at the directions. So it's really funny that you said that.
Oh, yeah, and I know people don't like I just said, like, we're kinesthetic learners, like, we do not wanna go read the manual, but, like,
Yes.
if you go and look at the motor spec sheets and you understand your battery configuration, like, and just do a little bit of that pre-work, by looking at that stuff over, like, it goes a long way now in this industry.
Well, and luckily we have a lot of videos too.
True, yeah. I'm a reader, like, learning by video is agony to me, I wish I could just,
Right.
like slide through like a 30-minute video. Oh, it's hard. I have to just write the
Yeah.
whole time just so I don't get distracted.
Well, to be honest, most people can't even go through a minute long video. We have such short attention spans. And actually I think about that with your teaching styles. I mean, there's so many different learning styles like you mentioned earlier, people that need to be hands-on, people that need to listen. How do you create content that is adjusted to all these different styles?
Yeah, I'm actually struggling with that with high voltage hustle because like I am getting a lot more traction on TikTok, but their videos are so short and punchy that I really have to use AI to figure out how to say things more concisely so that I can get to people in 15 seconds or less, like get a key tidbit of information in that amount of time. So that's really hard with social media. I would say when it comes to like in-person stuff, I really like to give people pre-work because I don't want to sit here and teach you what current is in class. Like I want you to come into the session already understanding the relationship of volts and current so we can go play with it.
Mhm.
So that's something where it's like that little bit of pre-work I think goes a long way so that you can get to that next level of learning, which is application.
So if you had to do one tool or resource that every EV technician or student should know about, what would that be?
I would say know how to use a multimeter to keep yourself safe because, we're working with high voltage, but it's current that kills. And so you need to make sure you know how to use electrical instruments to ensure that you're safe to touch the vehicle.
So let's talk. What does getting shit done mean to you on a personal level?
Oh, well, I'll go back to the new mantra of driving change. I think that what I'm working on, and like I always thought I would be a public servant in the classroom. So to move over to the private sector, like I really felt like I was doing good and making the world a better place and educating people, whether it's for climate resilience or performance. I think electric vehicles have a lot of opportunity, so trying to inspire others is a big motivation for me.
Inspiring others is your get shit done.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I'm so lame and feel so old, especially on TikTok. But
Jeez, I'm sure you're younger than me. Let's not even go there. Who cares?
yeah, yeah, we won't go there. We look great.
Listen, this has nothing to do with this podcast, but I will stick stuff in my face and dye my hair and do all the things to fight aging because I don't. I will age kicking and screaming. I don't care. Just like Dolly Parton says, if you can afford it and you're not hurting anyone, go for it.
Yeah, yeah. Hey, and no hate on what people want to do, right? It's just like if you want to look like a Catwoman, you go for
Yeah,
it.
maybe. Maybe I do. Maybe I will. I don't know. No, I really don't want to, but
Like I kind of like brush my hair in the morning. I can't imagine doing more.
yeah. I'm more and more high maintenance the older I get because I'm like trying to pull and hide things, but you know.
Yeah. I, especially now that I work in the shop, like I just have like a dirt mustache all the time because I can't stop touching my face while I work. And like I'm just getting grosser and grosser and just trying to accept.
Yeah, who cares? Like we said earlier, gotta be weird anyway. It's way
Yeah,
more fun. So
exactly.
obviously you're very driven by your purpose. And so my next question was going to be what keeps you motivated and grounded, maybe in the moments that you do have a failure or a setback. What keeps you going?
Yeah, I think I would have to say, um, probably the EV swap community has really surprised me with how open and willing to just acknowledge failure. I was just at this small like DIY EV swap conference last weekend called State of Charge in Denver. And when I was speaking there, I just had to acknowledge like the guys who've already done it, like to go up on stage and talk about how you like fried an entire like $10,000 Tesla motor and like don't do this and here's why, or to like acknowledge that you like totally wasted money on stuff. Like we just have this new opportunity to like build a new community and car culture that's like honest and like willing to fail and like share those failures. So every time that I screw up, I do try to like not cut the footage and still throw that on social media because I hope that my failures like allow other people the opportunity to like take a chance.
Man, this is exactly why I started this podcast. Like I love when people are willing to share their failures, and if we don't fail, we don't learn, we can't move forward. And I also love that you're trying to shift the culture of those conversations and doing it right on stage. I think that's very brave. And again, people want to maybe put up a mask or an armor and this is how my perfect social channels are and this is how I speak and it's very robotic and being real, it makes it easier for people to connect to you. So I love that you're doing that. And at Haven, we even have a thing called F Up Fridays where we share failures that we did during the week so that we can learn from each other because that's how we learn, right?
I love that. You need to like turn that into a hashtag challenge so that other people do it.
All right. So we've covered a lot. Is there
Mhm.
anything that we didn't cover that you want to share with audiences?
I guess more of like a tidbit if someone's thinking about going into this industry, at a fundamental level, like you're hearing all about like charging infrastructure and we need charging technicians. And so, there's like two types of electricity, like AC and DC. And so, AC is like what electricians use and what you should know if you're going to go into charging infrastructure. DC is better for energy storage, like solar storage and electric vehicles. And so, if you're a young person, which all data is showing that young people are car guys. So if they're like thinking about like, oh, I'm hearing on the news all these opportunities, like really kind of picking, do you want to do an AC or DC kind of pathway, like, and all these different doors open, whether it's energy storage or moving energy through the grid. And so that would be like my big advice. We're also seeing like electric school buses and city fleet conversions. And so there's a lot of like opportunity in municipalities, or if you still want to work in the public sector, to go and be a technician at the public school for the electric school buses. So there's so many jobs out there that like we didn't hear about in school. And so I think that YouTube University is a great place to start of learning those things. But of course, there's tons of actual formal training growing out there.
Very good. So, what is next for Baily?
Well, so I've got this 79 Datsun mini truck that I've been working on my high voltage hustle channel. And right now I just test fit the Miata transmission, which I'm going to keep the clutch, the motor, and I put the battery in the bed. It was like the first time that all the big pieces are in the vehicle, which is crazy exciting. I've got so much wiring and mounting to do right now, but what's next is like I got to get back to the shop so I can work on that truck and get ready to drive it and show it off.
Very fun. So then where can we find you and watch the progress of these vehicles?
I am on social channels as High Voltage Hustle. I'm working on a long form YouTube series to like document the entire build in weekly episodes. I'm hoping to drop those by the end of 2025 if my fabrication skills go well.
And if they don't, she'll be sure to share her F-ups with you on her channel.
Yeah, I already had to add a couple episodes in the plan of just like, I need a whole episode on just learning fab because I'm terrible at
Love it.
it.
So fun. This has been a great conversation. Thank you for joining us today.
Yeah, so happy that you reached out. And yeah, it was a pleasure talking with you.
Thanks for listening to GSD with Jeni. If you found this episode helpful, share it with a friend. For more ways to GSD, you can also find me on LinkedIn at Jeni Buchholz, where you can sign up for my Maven Mindset newsletter, or follow me on Instagram at Maven Jeni. Until next time, go GSD, Mavens!